Yake Satini if the cut Johan. Gwashi Saku. We are playing. Kago has to in ye Jehwanean. Jago Kago. Take the Hino at that you took the tongue. What the cut with Sunday ʼáak, just take you ʼatánk. A that away you took a to the art. Yeah, we are to a tea. Just take a you ʼatánk. The cut with Sunday ʼáak. Sunday ʼáak you ʼatánk. A gas the cut ye gi. Take which it you ʼatánk. Way Sunday ʼáak you ʼatánk da. You actually equity ya you that. Tell yan wune yata. Gwall ach is llyngydd sai. Cell dasa yan y gwchsynu. Ie o ach is llyngydd sai. Yata choa Sunday ʼáak you ʼatánk. Ka I dultóow at aya. Ya ahas wujin ye jutine yata dat. Last Humanities Forum, KTOO, Llyngydd Chade Kina, Global Heritage Foundation, Yis at Hastu Jiwa Choawe, Hastu Yahai, Silaska Heritage, Ha UAS. Hastu Eid Aya, Hachshahit, Ya Hatu Latzini Hasati, Kachwan Ish, Keyishe, Kehinako, Anya Shahash, Kushtako Ish, Hakashat. Ja, hascha achit has with the she. Ida, Kastin, Andachtin, Zeus. Katayatse. Ye owe achtuasagu, a dat yejit to ne, tlek at yahai, ka asai, yuakshi ke kwasane. Yet tlek ganach the cut yuhan. Tlek wuch it ʼatánk to asagu yech yat ada. Aka away, yegach to satin, hasi ʼatangi. Yada shukwa yel shukwa yel adusar yuqakwatan just kleka wuchich ʼatánk yel da
Yes nach city.
oh yak gonna cheese just as kadushu uyach
Utanaha dis gagan yes G2T.
yel yak cheese
Ach saie to yes you ʼatánk.
oh yak gonna cheese
We ye hooch yachjati.
yeah oh gonna cheese
We tackling yes cut
yak gonna cheese Jeninach
Back home.
yes to Wakasani.
yak gonna cheese
No.
Link at class. Okay, I guess right here.
That's right. I gotta go.
Tuach Juan Klein Take a which it's ʼatánk yel da
Data?
Take which it ʼatánk yel da
Yes.
Yes.
Ya
Hey.
de kakwashi Tuga just take a which it ʼatánk yel da
Yes nach city kachkanakwe talquedi. Yep. Yaqwa?
Yeah, okay.
Talquedi ka chaska quedi ka kach adi ka kix adi ka tihitan. So wrangle dach.
Okay, Kunchishka. Zukaga, Adusa, Ketchwaach. Adusa Kelsachwaach. Wait, Uchiga? Achit Koaha, Gwalkiwe. Klektihin, Shkakwe. Khosatin, Yale, our Tau. Easter Kwati. Hastu Yukatangi Ayayi that. Adusati to Asagu, our two. Cook.
Yale niche. Yana good.
And Chish. Klerkalkenachta, so we.
Raven was walking along the beach.
Raven is walking along the beach. Okay. Adisakakwaturiata.
Yesh yude sadua ach.
Chish. Klerkalkenachta, so we.
Raven over there is listening to someone's voice or somewhat.
Close. Though
They hear the raven over there, the voice of the raven over there.
A raven's call is heard way over there, right? So that's what the do does. The CH as well, with both like awa'ach, they can hear it. So you say kho'ach, I hear it. Kho'ach, I can hear it. Sachwa'ach, I hear a voice. Sachwa'ach, I can hear a voice. Okay. Yet the
Yale Yadich Petzati. I am of the Raven moiety.
Kind of. Like this is an interesting sentence because I don't think it necessarily, it's complicated because there is a Tlingit name, Yech Yadi. If you say you're Yadi of a clan, that's your father's people. But the person who said this was Akdain Tan. So I just think the interpretation would probably get kind of a little more literal, maybe. I don't know. Any other stabs at it?
My father is Raven.
That could be, but his father was Kagwan. I just know the speaker too. And this is what he said, right? So I do think it's not really talking about the clan system, maybe.
I am a child of Raven, as in maybe I'm like him or
I'm a Raven child, right? Which is interesting, right? Because I got an uncle named Yechliadi, and he might be like, wait, I'm Yechliadi. Then I know someone else named Yechliadi. So okay. Asakakwatu or Asaakwatu. Am I not reading it? Oh, you can.
Let New York kiwe utiwe yes kua. Let's think it ani. That's the yechi yes. I know that the last part is Raven created this world.
Yeah, the raven who made the world, right? So
Oh,
this whole
okay.
thing,
Oh, I see.
the whole thing
Okay.
becomes an adjective, right? The
Oh, I
world
see.
making
Okay.
raven, however we want to say it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure about the new. Eh?
That's what we knew, Johan.
Fort? That's not Fort, is it?
That is.
Okay.
Fort T, the
Kay nu
Raven.
yach gewe wu ti we ye lwa. And to be fair, this isn't a single this is taken from a story. It's a little bit different than give me one sentence about Raven. That's what I asked the elders, right? That's how we got the other ones. This one's just pulled from the mouth of a master storyteller. What about Nu Yahuti? What would that be? Nu Yahuti.
He was like a fort.
Mm-hmm. Nu
Anyway,
Yahgiwe.
like possibly, right?
Yeah. And then what does Giwe? So Giwe is like, I guess. That's how I usually say Giwe would be like, I guess. And then what about Kleh? That's maybe the only thing left.
Then?
Then. So let's put it all together.
Then he was like a fort, I guess. Raven, however. The raven who made the world.
Yeah, well. Okay. Yeah, well.
Oh.
And she's talking about when he was born. Because he was born out of a rock. Who wants to read this one? I do something to us or to.
Adasa sak yestat skadutni achaya yin a kakwanik.
Jeez.
Stories about Raven. I don't know. Achaya like is like because or therefore.
Yeah, because of this or this is why.
Wow. And he told you all.
Yeah, close. So yiin, to you all. A'ak. I guess let me put this down there with the verb so it's a little clear. So that is part of the verb. A'ak. Well, yiin is as well, but is a direct, it's an object.
That's why I'm telling this.
Not quite this.
It's some.
Yeah. And so in this case, I'd probably say, I'll tell you one of them. And so is partitive. And we don't encounter a whole lot, but it's to say like, if you said, we do ashai, there's some really good toasted king salmon heads over there. I said, I'm going to eat one. But it could also mean I'm going to eat some. And so, so what about getting that one? Like we see the parts that are there, right? So chadasa, klak, yechtat, shkatilnik. So this, with the second part being, this is why I'm going to tell you all one, right? Or some. Could be some. Could work either way. What about the first part, though?
There have always been stories told about Raven.
Yeah, people are always telling, and well, like the Chadasa is really interesting. They're telling whatever stories. They're telling stories about Raven, right? They're telling all kinds of stories about Raven. There's different ways you can sort of look at that. So Chadasa on its own is whatever, and then Tuk Yel Shkatilnik. People are always telling. So people always tell stories about all kinds of stories about Raven. This is why I'm going to tell one to you all. Sanyahlahash. Yeah, away. Hucha, we take us and the ʼáak with decha. Take, decha. Decha sanika kakoa. Yadua hayis ai. ʼáak. Take which it hich ʼatánk to us a gucho. Hoachi. X'éig the Kayaaní. Ja, je dat jen kat kadech nach awe ohan. Du sa shukwa.
Osgat. Kayaaní yachiti with ʼáak.
Oh, okay. Cheese.
dultóow. What a niche.
Cheese.
Nichka.
Okay. Okay.
ʼáak, aware, ʼáak, chat,
Oh, okay.
ʼáak, kudi, ayo.
Oh, okay. Cheese. Naskadushu uyach. It's like which it hich ʼatánk ʼáak.
Would he Ken?
Oh, okay.
Ne?
So
ye yanaka Lingi nach Gastano channel.
Sitka.
Yagi sika ʼáak chwasatin.
Oh, okay. And cheese. Satsa. Zucke, Hutschige.
Gataya ʼáak nach sati, chat, ʼáak nach, chat sati, what's inedi? Ay chat, nach, so.
And cheese.
Eka at we booch, booch, we tawuch, kirkwan dach de wuch, Cathedral Falls.
Oh, yeah, okay. And cheese. Like echa. Yewa ʼáak wasallitsin which ʼáak ʼáak ʼatánk ʼakwatlich on ʼatánk. Okay. So again. Isa akwatu. Gwasliata.
Ye canach awe. Yeah. Cotige ʼáak.
Cheese. Like hawk in a chwa.
It's really that way. Someone becoming eagle. Treshwasa.
What about yakutzage? Yakunachawe yakutzage ʼáak.
Intelligent.
Ah.
I was going to say talkie.
Geez, I'll have to listen to this recording too, because if he said, I think it is yakutzage. He does say yakutzage in the recordings.
So would it really be like an eagle is very intelligent, or is it really like sorry, like intelligent eagle?
Well, you could say, if you wanted to make it into an adjective, to say like intelligent eagle, like you're making it into a name or something. Yakutzage. So you would take this part. So this part is a verb, right? Oops, where did I put it? So this part is a verb, yakutzage ʼáak. An eagle, the eagle is intelligent. You do that, now you have converted that verb into an adjective with the attributive suffix. So that would be intelligent eagle. Or yakutzage. This is a nickname. Yakutzage tukatash. That's what we call shkuyech. His other name is Smarty Pants.
Kune, if I was going to say that, I'd probably just say kunach away kudige ʼáak, maybe. And how does the ye work
I
there?
don't know. Yeah, like, and so for a lot of these, like, he was a really good speaker. Kushtakuish. He was really fun to talk to. And so there's a number of these where they were a bit of a puzzle. And I had students go through and listen to them and isolate the audio. And this was back when Ida and Costine were students in like intermediate and advanced Tlingit. And I think we're both working at UAS as student workers too. And so we had them parse it out. And it could be ye awe, and you could probably say ye kudnach awe. So it really is like that. So it's probably just being inserted in between ye and awe. So it's really like that. An eagle is intelligent. So that's probably what's going on with that.
Oh, good geez.
Yeah, which is like, once you get into the high fluency speakers, you see them doing all kinds of little fun things. What's this one?
Flying eagle.
You gotta say it, I think it first.
Oh, sorry. Yandu kinchak.
Yep. And now say the translation with authority.
Flying eagle.
An eagle is flying. Yeah, away. Okay. And there's a name, Yenda Kinye. I think there's a few folks I know who have that name. Atisa Kwatu.
ʼAak do kudi cut. Eagle is sitting on its nest.
Yeah, oh wow. In or on, either one. That's fine. Okay. Do kudi cut
One,
Ah.
what is doing there?
That is the verb for someone to be sitting right now. It's a positional verb. And so sitting and standing are really interesting ones because you have hun and They're very short verbs. So like hun is like they're standing there. They're sitting there. So it does get a little confusing, and we could write it with a period at the front. But if we were to put, whoops, what'd I do? If we were to put any sort of subject on there, so you would put it on there. So I'm sitting, you are sitting. So if there's no vowel in between and the root, it'll be long. Okay, so that's why you got and then is just the third person. So a third person subject is always unmarked, and if there's no object, then you end up sometimes with only the verb root. And so it gets like this is also, that's a verb, ta. So ta and I think are some of the shortest verbs in the Tlingit language. And we're so used to big, long, juicy verbs. Sometimes when we see them, we're like, what? That's the verb? Because same thing, like, what are they doing? Ta. Wasaqiyanuk or wasakuanuk. Ta. Like, that's the whole sentence. They're sleeping. Right? And so because it's a positional verb, it only works for the right now. So then, what if I made this whole thing perfective? Anybody know? It can't be You can't go woo You just can't do it.
You go in?
You actually wouldn't go in. No. That's a really good guess. It's going to be a whole different verb. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
If you need a hint, think about when you tell someone to sit down.
Unuk.
Unuk. And what if we're predictors of the future and we say it's gonna sit in its nest? We'll just do the verb. And you have to think there's a command for this one. When you tell someone to sit down, and that tells you something, and then that tells you what the future form needs to be. ʼAak could cut.
Is it kick kunuk?
It's close. But if it's new, then it's got to ye.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. So these are wild because we do, but you will find them. You will find yourself wanting to use them. Where am I going to sit? Right? Where did they sit? Oh, okay.
Kune, how does Yeats say, where is this important dignitary going to sit?
What's he say? But he uses a third person. So for that one, so he says, Sa Yek Wanuk Yeah. Qunanarchi. I think I know someone who has that name. Qunanarchi Tla. I think is the mother of the foreign dignitary. And so here you've got qunna, which is some other thing. And he called himself qunate, which is like other thing, which we sometimes translate as alien. And then he also called himself qunanarchi, some other rich person. So, and the elders, they love to translate that one as the foreign dignitary. So the story is, so he walked into a ʼáak. Well, it's a little bit longer. Like, so he was invited to a ʼáak that was being hosted by, I think it was Kushta. These landowners were hosting a ʼáak. And he said, I think it was his nephew, Xashak, who said, you've been invited to the ʼáak. He says, I don't want to go. I heard everybody only gets just one cod head. That's all they're going to eat. The whole ʼáak. Don't want to go. But maybe go see. So go see what it's like for me. And so he goes and he looks and he comes back. He's like, oh, all kinds of food, all kinds, whole bunch. So he says, take me over there. And he pretended to be blind. And that's why he was so late to the ʼáak, because he was blind. And then when he walks in, he yells, and sometimes when people come into ʼáak, they will yell that, just jokingly. That goes back to this raven story. But but you do have Yeqanuk in there. Where is, and he's saying this, which is, and that's what makes it funny, is like, he's like, where is the foreign dignitary going to sit? And he's talking about himself in the third person, which is interesting, right? Like really famous people sometimes talk about themselves in the first person, I guess, and using their own name. Like, let's say, where's Khane going to sit, right? But I don't know about people who talk about themselves in the third person. Like if they walked in and they said, we got all kinds of food. I was like, well, what is he going to eat? But I talk about myself, right? So it's so interesting. Okay. Good question. Oops. Went one too far. Somebody read it. Out loud.
Goes today with the Kinway chalk.
Sheesh. There you go.
Where
Who's today?
ʼáak, today I think, sorry.
It's okay.
Which direction did the eagle fly?
Oh, that would be good day sa. Good day sa deqin. Or you know, good day sa with deqin. Which ʼáak. But what is goose?
The eagle flew into the clouds.
Yeah. Oh. Wow. Eagle flew into the clouds. So you can go today into the cloud.
Up into that 2 day up. Yeah.
There's actually no up in there.
Oh, okay.
I would probably just say, just for clarity, I would probably go back to that.
Into today.
Isa dito asako awatu. Awatu.
Away, ʼáak.
Like in a
The eagle is a duck already own thing.
Yeah, away. Yeah, away. Gonna cheese. Like echa. Okay. And gay how any? Huchi aye we dech a Sunday ʼáak naski a ko ayat a coach. Yet the Kayaaní to us a good kleinach which it chuch ʼatánk we coach. That. Gook. I was gonna say, while we're waiting, one time I did this form line class and they gave us these circles, a whole row of circles. And then they gave us 30 seconds to make a design into each one. It was so high pressure. My heart was racing. But there's no clock. There's no clock. Just saying. Someday maybe we'll have a clock, like 10 seconds to make a sentence, but not today. Kayaaní.
Poach away. Slech take away.
Oh, okay.
Duck, gooch, chalk, yachiti.
Oh, yeah, away.
Wait, gooch. Disco. Ka. Atun. Aga. Chayet.
Okay. Jeez.
ach Caitley nickel yudu sagun Guch Yachyati she looked just like a wolf.
Uchech dutin.
Guch Yachdutin ach Caitley nickel yudu sagun.
Okay.
Hagwan tan at uwu. I don't know, was it way Uch?
Okay. Okay, jeez.
We gooch. Du tawasagu. We askatu.
Okay. So, okay. Kate has a quaha we coach. We husky ko a quat like. What's away, honey? Yeah, owe. Yeah, Fairbanks. Aye, how would he? Yeah, owe quatu. We need cuckoo kach. The coach. Kate, Ronnie has a ha. Yeah, dech Kate hoa. Which country has would he? Like a retriever. Like a husky. A coach, just way retriever has a ha. Husky quite like. Huh. Ach, yachi, I thought it was interesting. We live in Fairbanks and these wolves were coming around eating dogs. First, they started playing with dogs. I was reading the story and I was like, oh no, I think this story ends bad. And then they started eating the dogs. And then there was one story where they're coming around the outskirts of town, especially and eating dogs. And But they wouldn't eat the huskies, which I thought was interesting because they'd be like, hey, friend, you look like me. And they'd eat their friend and take off. Which isn't very funny, but I don't know why I'm laughing. I would feel bad if some wolf ate my dog. That'd be so sad.
I bet the huskies also smelled like more like them than the other dogs.
Yes, there's something there. But I thought there was really something there, you know. So, okay, here we go. Ooh. You could contract that first "w" if you wanted to, but she didn't, so we just wrote it like this. Adutsakakwatu.
Ouch, ach ish, de udas I, kade, would do a caw.
Cheesh.
Wolf, my father, your coat,
His shirt.
his shirt. I'm talking about it, or he's talking about it.
That would be Yauduaka. That is a really good guess. What about Waduaka? Any takers on that one?
Is what it's called?
Sure.
Is Gooch is Kudas his shirt is what it's called, like the wolf shirt?
Well, you'd have you do a sock in there. Yeah, it's another good theory.
It was sewn on it.
Yeah, wow. This is the so what verb. Would do a ka. So it means to sew it onto there. But it's one that we probably, it's a verb that we should know because a lot of us are doing work on this, on regalia and stuff. And so, but would do a ka. And if it's happening right now, you'd hear de kates. So a lot of times we hear this kates. But what we have here is this is one where in the imperfective, it gets this S apostrophe suffix, which means to repeat something in a pattern, right? So it's another repetitive type of suffix, but it has to do with patterns. And so it works perfectly for the sewing verb. Unless you're sewing just chawasa. When I met my grandma's uncle, he was a really funny guy. His name was Gadals. And he was a pretty wide guy, but he was very short. So he had a hard time finding pants that would fit very well. And so when I met him, he had hemmed his own pants, and they were black pants. And for whatever reason, he had used yellow yarn and had gigantic stitches. And so my grandma was there, and that's his brother, that's her brother, and then their cousin, she was there too, and they all tease each other just all the time growing up together. So they still did. And so his cousin, she goes, "Nice pants." And he looks at her, he goes, "The ladies love them." So it's just so fun. But would do a ka is to sew something, right? And then what do you think that does though? Cow do a ka. I'll tell you, it's not going to be sewing.
Will sew something?
What? No, because you would have guchta, like people are going to sew it or cook whatever, right?
Did so?
Say something?
Well, again, it's the same verb root, but it's not going to be sewing. It's going to be some similar concept.
How about beating?
Yes, beating or embroidering would be kauduaka. So those are verbs that the kawaka and wuka, those are good verbs for us to know because we do a lot of that stuff.
So say kauduaka, it's like beating because it's it's repetitive, but I guess I'm just,
Well, the big thing is the ka verb has to do with sewing. That has to do with sewing, right? But then if you would say our ka, they sewed it. So that means they sewed it together. Usually it's implying like you can sew moccasins, you could sew a vest, you could sew all kinds of things. But this, when you have ka, it means to sew it onto something. So that's why it becomes beading. Because if you do bead work, you're going to grab some, go, and then you sew them onto the thing. Like that is part of the beading process. And so that's also embroidery. But most of the time, that's talking about beading. And these are important verbs for Tlingit because we do so much bead work, we do so much sewing stuff. They're really good to know. And then then you also have Ausaka, which would be they gave them a tattoo. So that tells you a long time ago, that meant they were sewing into your skin. Okay. Good stuff. Not too.
Kagwantan hastuya uch hastuya at has atlier.
Jeez.
Kagwantan. So they're pictures or they're images. Gooch. Wolf images. That at has atlier. That means it's used for it or it's made for it. Okay.
Yeah. So usually there are situations where it could mean it's made into it, but I would say this is one where the default definition for the ʼáak verb with this X suffix attached to something is to use it for something. Whenever you have ʼáak, it just means to use it. It's really interesting because when he would use this for Tlingit as well. We're going to use our language. That's how he liked to say those types of things. He was a really high fluency speaker. But he caused a couple problems here and there though. So yes. It's the image of the Kagwantan. They use the image of the wolf. Which is interesting, right? So it says Kagwantan hastu yahai. It's the image of them, the Kagwantan. Or you could sort of say it's a picture that they own, right? There's two ways I think you could interpret that, right? And then usually the yahai part, whatever comes before it, is what it's the image of. So if you said ach yahai, that's not a picture that I own. That's a picture of me. Okay.
Is there a different word for crust, or would you use the same word?
That's so interesting. I've heard hashuka, and I've heard I haven't really gotten it. I think I need to get my notes together for the answers I've received for that. Because I've heard the thing that we claim. And I know SHI just put out a book on crests. And I want to check that out and see what they have on it. But I do think we need to figure out a little bit more. It is something that is like, for as much as we use crests and we use them for clan specific things, there's not a whole lot of records of like, that's our crest, right? I don't know. I'll do some investigating over the weekend. We'll take it to the committee, see what they say. One from one of the masters. Who's gonna read it? We got 6 minutes left. You got to get through this third week. Okay.
And
Yeah, we might have to
Call of the
put our
Wolf.
minds together. Put our minds together. Yeah, this is one we had to. It took 3 of us, I think, to get this one made. So don't feel it's not an easy one. Any predictions, thoughts?
Is that like for howling or
Is
crying?
that a cry?
Yes, and
That's
so
why I said at first, the call of the wolf, because
right?
I just thought a call would be the call, like a kawagach would be the call, but I
Right.
didn't know calling.
Well, for ʼáak, you get crying, right? So ʼáak has to do with crying. But then as far as like what kinds of verbs you can get from ʼáak, maybe we'll go into I guess this one. So we'll look at the handwriting here. So we've got ʼáak, low tone, long. That's a noun for weeping or crying. ʼáak, that's the verb for like someone is crying or weeping. And then wuqaq, but that usually just talks about the act of crying. And then you have an S classifier version, which means to make someone cry. So I could say, "Ixsaqaq, I made you cry. I'm sorry for making you cry." Then you have kadaqaq, which means to cry or to wail. So this is crying out loud. And it's also to like yell out, like in pain, fear, or a kid. Like, I say it to my kids all the time. They say, I'm not crying, but they've got this kind of like, just the way they say things. And then you have an S classifier one for that, to cause someone to wail out. Like, I made you. Like if you came around the corner, I was like, boo, and you screamed out, like that would be ikarsaqach. And then we have ayaqach, consoling someone's grief. Then you have prone to cry. Saqach, it makes me want to cry. Like really neat things in here, right? Let's see. Kaudaqach, went crying. A related form, you have begging and asking for it. And you can also cry for something. Like these are the verbs they would use when Raven was the little baby that wanted that box. Okay. Oh, and then we got ʼáak, that's different. Okay. Okay. So a wolf is howling. Okay, one more. And we got cut class early. Go watch a movie. But well, we got 4 left. We might be able to get to them if we're fast. Don't be
This one's
slow.
easy. Kagwantan yan yedi has to at ayaguj.
Yeah, what?
Kagwantan yan yedi it's at two is a gooch. Sorry. It's
Yeah.
wolf.
Right, it's the clan property. It's ʻatú of the Kagwantan and the Yenyidi. And look at that, it's a verbless sentence, right? Very cool. Okay, this is the last one. It's got my name. I didn't even make that sentence. I just pulled out of a dictionary. This is a tricky one. Here's another tricky one, though. I'll tell you that. We end on a hard one, maybe. Sheesh. Any predictions?
About wolf is crying.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's
Or
a little
our
bit
crying
more
leader.
to it. There's a little bit more to it. What if it's not just wolf?
Isn't there like the leader of the pack, like the cry from the leader
Well, we
of
already
the pack?
had like howling, but then
Right.
this, like, what do they do?
Is that a cry song or?
Not quite a cry song. You have like gach dashi, which is related to this, but here's the gach verb, but for some reason you can't pluralize gach until you do it this way. So this would be they are howling, and this would be like, because if you hear one wolf, ooh, look at that wolf is howling. If you hear a pack of them, you're like, get the gun, right? Because you just got to be ready, because sometimes when they're circling and howling, they got a plan, and the plan is you, and the plan is dinner. Right? So those are some things to think about, right? So, but that sati, it's really an interesting, because it is the sati. It seems to be the sati verb, like when you look at how it can be used, which maybe next week we'll take a closer look at it. But we finished 3 weeks of Tlingit in just 1 hour. You guys are so fast. Okay.
What's you do a sock gooch in a pack?
I should know that, huh? I know that
Trouble.
like a pack of wolves. Oh, there's gotta be. Okay. We'll go look in 2 places. So we're just gonna find like packing something. Oh, wait, hold on. There's gotta, because there's one for like a pod of killer whales, right?
You know, when Kayaaní, we were all trying to figure out how to say dog team, eh? And she just said Kate, like there was really no word for it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that might be something where we'll just have to see. Okay. I'll see what I could find. I'll see if anybody knows, and I'll look through some of the sources. Because you could look up pack, but you're just going to end up with 1,000 verbs about packing bags and packing up the trail and stuff like that. So I'll see what I could find. I'll report back on Monday. Okay.
Sheesh.
You